Hey guys, welcome to the Big Fat Chat. My name is still Dan, and I'm your host for today. Um, Whether you're listening on SoundCloud or YouTube, please consider subscribing. And if you do enjoy what we do here, then leave a like and tell your like-minded friends about us. As some of you know, we are now on Facebook and Instagram pages, so if you want to keep up to date with all the BFC stuff, simply search the Big Fat Chat on either platform, or you can follow at die_ling_ping or at doubledipdan on Twitter. I ran a small ad campaign on Facebook to test the waters, so all the people who came from that Facebook page, welcome to the podcast. Sadly, as you probably noticed, I am running solo today. I couldn't free up enough time to get down and record, so this milestone event of 10 episodes of the Big Fat Chat is going to be missing a key ingredient. But alas, I kind of told myself when I started this podcast that I would commit to a weekly episode every week without fail for at least 2 years. And I said 2 years for a simple reason, right? So podcasts are really difficult to make go viral in there because in the fact that they're really long. Instead, it's more of like a grind game, unless you can get a massive star on as a guest, which obviously we aren't able to do out of the gate. So I forced myself to go 2 years because anyone who has taken like a stab at YouTube before without any viral content knows that the first year is like nobody listens to your stuff, like nobody really cares, nobody knows who you are, and especially with such long form things like a podcast. I think it's really difficult to get people interested in it. So, like, I'm really, really thankful for the 65 of you that have subscribed so far. And obviously, I really hope that we just build this community. And I'm still always trying to like or comment or reply on anything that people do while it's possible. So, thanks for sharing out the podcast Facebook page. If you have, like again, Optimus Wilbur. Forever the forefront of the fandom, and I'm really, really thankful, and so is Di. If he was here, you'd be saying it as well. So I have absolutely no idea how long this podcast is going to be. I didn't have much time to prepare for the solo mission, but I will do my best. So like up until maybe like 2 hours before the podcast, I thought that me and Di were doing it together. But as I said, I'm just going to try my best, and I'm going to, just see what happens. So after podcast 7, I think it was, and that conversation about how music takes you back to places and memories and feelings and tastes and smells, I thought it would be interesting to just use this intimate podcast, this one-on-one time to dive into the music and memories that kind of build up my story. And I thought, why not bring these guys along for the journey, like. So, I mean, I'd like to put the feelers out with regards to these more intimate, serious podcasts too. I want to know if you guys like the more in-depth and slightly more thought-out episodes, as well as the normal, like, round the kitchen table chats that I have with Di. So, I mean, I do enjoy these slower ones every once in a while. So, I mean, if it's something that you guys want to listen to, then I'm happy to kind of oblige and let you rummage around. I'll say that again. Let you rummage around in my head for a short while. Don't stay too long. But looking back at my first ever solo episode, I really enjoyed the first one because I don't know. I literally kind of like laid myself bare in that episode, and I found it quite cathartic to just release a lot of it onto like strangers, and the feedback was pretty good. I mean, there's that like friends of mine came back to me and said like I didn't realize that this had happened, or like I didn't realize. Do you know what I mean? And I just kind of liked that. It was the first podcast, so it was a milestone, but it was a milestone in quite a few ways because I didn't know if I was happy with it first. I didn't know if I wanted to release it first, because I don't know. Like you have to accept this. Like, if my ex listened to that podcast, would she be happy with the way that I described it? Probably not. But as I said in that podcast, that was my feelings and my memories. So like maybe she'd have a totally different perspective on it, which is fine, you know. But I really enjoyed that solo episode, and I kind of have been looking forward to doing another one. And I think this is quite a cool one. So I'm gonna kind of with this episode, I'm gonna look at going kind of semi-chronological order, from childhood up until now. And another thing I'm going to attempt to do in this podcast, and probably all solo ones in the future, is to use minimal swearing. That's down to a part of me just wanting to swear less generally. And also just attempting to stop like using swear words as filler when my mouth is working faster than my brain. It's one of the things that like really irks me about my own podcast is my ability to kind of shoot off a sentence without slinging in a cheeky fuck for absolutely no reason. And every time I listen back to it, it winds me up something nasty. So I'm really going to try keeping the needless swearing down to a minimum. If I do swear, it's probably for impact. But what I don't want to do is fill the space with swear words. So I'm attempting to train myself to kind of use other words instead of swearing. But also just not fear a little bit of silence, you know? Everybody knows that we don't script any of our podcasts, so with having that type of mindset when we're going in, there's inevitably going to be a gap, you know, a pause in which we have to like regain our thoughts and then get back to it. And that pause in the moment, at the time, it feels way worse than when it does when the podcast's released. You know, like I'm looking at Di and like I feel the conversation coming to an end, or the topic coming to an end, we'll say. And because of that, you start to worry about the pauses and about the silences. And I feel like I need to just kind of take myself away from it a little bit and realize that it isn't that long, mate. Do you know what I mean? It isn't like a 10-minute fucking long pause. Like it feels like you're probably like not saying anything for like 15 seconds when it's actually only about 2 or 3. And I just want to kind of get myself to a point where I'm not worried about those pauses anymore. Hopefully last week you noticed that the audio was substantially better, and it's because I spent a lot of time kind of getting the settings right for the recording, and it was the first time that I ever did any post-processing. So last episode was the first ever in the whole 9 episodes where there was 0 clipping at all. Every other podcast that we've recorded, like as it got better, to be fair, but like every other podcast that we've recorded, there was clipping of some sort. So I kind of fixed that, and like now that we're using the mixer and stuff, it's just substantially easier to get like a higher quality audio sound. The Afro tops aren't stopping the P's popping as much as I would like, so I'm going to start fixing that next. But I'm constantly trying to think of ways where you guys just get a better quality product from us, I think. And I'm going to be constantly trying to work out the best ways to deliver this to you. So I give you as many platforms as you need to listen to it on. I'll give you the best audio quality that I can, and I think that we've hit the point now where it's at its best. No matter how loud Di shouts, or no matter how loud I laugh, nothing clipped last time, and I was really proud of that finally. Like so. And I didn't notice it. I didn't notice how bad the audio was, first of all, until I listened back after listening to podcast 8. So yeah, I think we're finally there. I gave myself 10 episodes anyway to kind of just put to just feel the to feel what was going on with the audio, and I think we've nailed it now. It's just the P's popping, and apparently there is a technique to stop doing that. Like radio presenters use it and stuff, so I'm going to look into that as well. You know, it's all about delivering that best quality product that we can. I also need to train Di to speak up a little bit, because when he gets into his serious steads, he kind of goes really quiet and whispery. But we'll try and fix that as well. So, like I said, no idea how long this episode is going to be because I had minimal time to prepare for it. But it's a solo boat trip, and I didn't have time to prepare for it that much. But I've got a little bit of structure in place just to control the wanderings of my mind. And before I begin and dive into the podcast, I'm really considering delivering the podcast to way more platforms than I currently do. I feel like we've got a large enough back catalogue now to launch on Apple Podcasts and also like Acast and similar places. So that is very likely it's going to become a reality in the very near future. So I just need to take a drink. Hold on. Oh, that pause. I should have swore then. So let's begin this journey into my my past, my memories, by listening to the first song that I can ever remember. Now, when I was growing up, my mum would listen to a ton of like country and western music, like Garth Brooks. And if I look back into my memory, I'm pretty sure the earliest song I ever remember listening to and like learning the words for was Glenn Campbell, Rhinestone Cowboy, which almost certainly isn't the first song that I learned, but it's the first one that I remember if I try my best to. Either that or Garth Brooks' Ireland, which even if I listen to this day gets me pumped up, man. I don't even know why. Like, I borrowed a CD off my mother the other day just because it had that song in it. So it's Garth Brooks Ireland. It's really hard to find anywhere now though. It's not on any of the streaming services I've tried. I haven't tried Spotify, so I could try that. But Garth Brooks Ireland is the boy. But if you go back to like Rhinestone Cowboy, the song itself was released like way before I was born, but I distinctly remember my mother listening to it like emphatically in my younger years. And it would be on whilst she made food for us or cleaned the house or like pretty much anything. It was day to day that it would be on. And it's one of those songs that just reminds me of my mother. It's not necessarily a single memory or feeling, but if it comes on, like the first thing I think about would probably be my mother. I think that's why this song sticks with me a little bit, and it doesn't have like a robust story behind it. But what it does do is it just brings up that memory of like me. I don't know. I could be doing anything. I could be just sat on the couch watching TV, but it would be on in the background where my mother would have. Like I can't remember how old this was, but like we used to have the stacker kind of the audio systems where you could stack. And like so it had a tape deck, and then one up then it had like a CD deck, and then it had one of the first like digital screen outputs, and you could see the tracks in it, and like that's the first song that I remember because I listened to it and I didn't really get what the fucking words were. Like, what the fuck is a Rhinestone Cowboy? I'm nearly 30 years old and I still don't know what. I still don't really know what that song's about. Like, I should probably listen to it more and try taking it in. But like I said, it doesn't have a robust story. But I remember it because my mother used to listen to it, and that's the first song that I remember listening to. And then kind of talking about that that Stacker CD player, that thing in particular about my childhood sticks with me because when Christmas would come about, we had the same CD that we would play every year. It would just keep on going, like, and it's pretty much the same now. Everybody still listens to the same Christmas music, like. But when I was a kid, it wasn't the Pogues. It was like East 17, Stay Now, and that song is like it's the ultimate song that reminds me of my Christmases when I was younger, because like I would listen to it every year, and like I would choose to put it on every year. So I would sit next to that stacker. Sorry. The stacker was in the living room, and I would turn all the lights off, and I would sit in my chair. I'd move my chair right next to the CD player, and I would find it. I feel like it was track 8 on this whatever CD we had, and it was East 17. And then because the digital readouts were quite new then on hi-fis, and that was the only thing that was kind of lighting the room up, was just this orange glow coming from a digital display on the CD player. And I learned all the words to East 17, Stay Now, and it was before like the music videos were on the channel, so it was literally I would just have I would just listen to East 17, Stay Now, and that's still my Christmas song. That reminds me of my childhood, but it has to be the main Christmas song. The main Christmas song has to be the Home Alone theme tune. If there was anything that, like, the thing is, right, I'm a chef, so Christmas doesn't mean the same to chefs as it does other people, because what Christmas means for chefs is it means substantially harder work. It means another menu to run for a lot of the time. And then Christmas Day, it means that you're away from your family. And for the first 10 years of my career, I didn't have a Christmas Day off. That's what you get when you're talented. You know, they don't let you have the nice days off because they need you in the kitchen. And not to toot my own horn, but I'm all right at my job. So like, if there was anything that would get rid of all that kind of hatred for the season of Christmas, it was Home Alone, man. And just recently, I think last week, it was on TV, and it kind of just mellows you out a little bit. And that song, the theme song for Home Alone, is just one of those ones that just hits you straight away, I think. And it's like, that's one of those ones where if you're listening to music and like, that is the Christmas song. Do you know what I mean? It's the one that takes. There's two songs, I think, that just, like, apart from like the in your face Christmas songs, there are two songs that kind of smash it home for a lot of people, and I think that's the Home Alone soundtrack and the Holidays Are Coming Coke advert. So those two songs, I think, are just like those ones that kind of, I don't know, oh, there's a pause. Oh my God, I'm getting anxiety. No, they when you hear them, they literally, like, the second you hear them, they bring out that emotion in you. And I think music is one of the very few things that can do that. There's places and people's faces that could do it, but I think music, more than taste, more than smell, more than touch, it just takes you there. Do you know what I mean? It can change emotions, I think, and music is great for that. Like, if you're feeling down, a lot of people have the album that they listen to when they're in the shit mood. Or, like, for me, if I'm in a bad mood, I'll go for a walk and I'll stick my headphones in and I'll listen to, like, Mumford & Sons' first or second album, and that's just the stuff for me, because what I love about Mumford & Sons in particular is kind of, maybe not so much anymore, their last album didn't do it so much, but first and second album, it's got like a slow build, and it boils and it boils and boils until it starts to bubble, and then it kind of like crescendos into this like epic soundtrack. And that's what I love about Mumford & Sons, or what I loved about Mumford & Sons, because I worry that their new album's going to be exactly the same. Because like if I was to say I was a fan of any band, it would be Mumford & Sons. I don't really follow many bands or artists for that matter. I just kind of listen to music, but I get excited still for when I hear that Mumford & Sons are kind of touring, or like, I really want to see them before I die. I want to see them live, but their last album disappointed me a little bit. And we'll go on to Mumford & Sons later, because one of their songs in particular is it resonates stupidly with me, so much so that I can cry sometimes just when I'm on my own. But we'll go back to that. We'll talk about the Christmas stuff for just a little bit longer. So when I listen to Home Alone, like, as much as I love the film, and anyone who knows me, I don't take a lot of time off work, unless I, like, sincerely have to. I fell, like, seriously ill last year, and I took 5 weeks off. but I don't pull sickies for nothing. But there was one time, which I will admit, but the 25th anniversary of Home Alone was a couple of years ago, and they did another cinema release. Now, bear in mind, I was 3 or 4 when that film came out, and I didn't get to see it in the cinema. So this was like, this was an experience that I couldn't miss. I think it was one of those things that I'm never going to see that film in the cinema unless I go now. So I did phone in sick for that day because it had to happen, like it was just like I have no choice. This is one of my favorite favorite films of all, like most famous. Fuck me, I swore. One of my most like memorable and favorite films of my life. Like, I mean, of films I've ever seen. It's definitely in my top 5 because it kind of prompts this emotional response. So I had to go and watch it, and to be honest with you, it was worth every single second of it. I wasn't in that job for long after that anyway, so it's fine. I was planning on leaving, so yeah, I mean that was a great experience, and I feel bad for anybody that didn't get to see that in the cinema because it was like the remastered version. But I was a little bit gutted that they didn't release the second film in the same way, because I would definitely have booked that off as well. But I'd like to thank Eve for giving me that idea to just go and watch that instead of going to work. It was great. Let me grab a drink. So talking about Mumford & Sons. No, actually, I won't talk about Mumford & Sons. I said I'll go in chronological order. So I think the next song that really impacted in my life was actually a song that I wrote myself. And I will see if I can put it underneath and just kind of... No, I won't be able to because it's my voice again. But maybe I'll play it at the end, just for the people that want to listen to it. It was a song that I wrote, and it took me 2 years to write it. It was about my gran. So, oh God, how long ago was that now? Long time ago. Over a decade. Well over a decade. Maybe... Oh gosh. Did I say gosh to stop swearing? Yeah, no, so it was 11, 12 years ago. 2006, I believe. 2006. And my gran falls ill, and I've never lost anyone in my life at this point. So one night my dad's been in the hospital with my gran, and I hear the door come, and I hear my mother say to my dad, "Can you just go and tell the kids?" And it's one of those things, you just know what's going to happen. You know what's coming when he comes up the stairs. And it was really weird because he opened the door. I remember where we were living. I remember what my bedroom looked like. It was so surreal now looking back and thinking about it. He came in and he said, "Oh, Gran's died." And I just went, "Okay." And then I just turned around. I turned my back to him. I didn't cry. And it was so weird because, he just left the room. I obviously he didn't know that. I didn't know how to cope with it. He didn't know how to. He'd never had to tell his fucking kid that his mother was dead. And that can't have been nice for him. And then, but for a whole week went. So the whole week went, and I didn't cry. Like everyone was crying around me, and I didn't cry at all. And I just started to feel. I started to think to myself, but are you even human? What's your problem? Why can't you just show emotion? Your gran's dead. And then when we went to, there was a little ceremony at her house before we went to the crematorium. And that's, I don't know, it must have been the whole week. I must have just opened the door to this cupboard that I've been jamming full of crap, and I must have just opened the door and it all just fell on me. And I like even like cousins who I hardly ever speak to were trying to like hold me up because I like my legs stopped working and I was and I just broke down and as a way of coping with it, I think I just spent the next 2 years writing this song about her and kind of the story of the end for her. So I wrote it like it was back in the day when I thought I was a fucking gangster rapper. Right, the swear words are coming back now, so I need to readjust. I did say crap earlier instead of swearing, but you're gonna notice me audit myself a little bit during this, but don't worry about it. I'm just kind of reflecting on myself. But what was I saying? So I wrote this song about the story of the end for her, and it was a way of me kind of coping. And I wrote the first verse. Oh no, that's what I was saying. Yeah, so I thought I was a gangster. So it was back in the days when I was in the middle of writing an album for myself anyway, talking about killing people with AKs and stuff. You know, like an 18, 19-year-old boy, fucking 18, 19-year-old boy trying to show that he's a gangster, but he's one of the only fights he had been in at that point got him knocked out by a Jack Daniels bottle. But back to the story of the song. So I wrote this song. And I couldn't finish it, and I did 2 verses quite quickly, and I did the hook quite quickly as well, and I could not finish this song. I didn't know why, because like I felt like the process was helping me, so thinking about all the things that were quite painful was helping me kind of climb that mountain of grief, because I'd never had it before. I didn't know. Like, you're explained that you're never going to see them again, but you're not explained that sometimes you might forget what they look like just for a split second. You try thinking up a memory and you forget. Like it doesn't happen often, but there's a few times where I've gone to think about my gran in a moment or a time, and I have to think for an extra 5 or 6 seconds just to kind of bring a picture back. And that's, I know it's not a nice feeling, you know. But yeah, so I didn't want to end this song, and the reason I didn't want to end the song is because that would have been the full end of the chapter. So I went down one day, like she'd passed on 2 years at this point by the time I was coming to finish the song. So it was 2008 that I finished that song. But I finished it next to her grave, and I took a notepad and I took some flowers and a chair, and I sat next to her grave where we had kind of scattered her ashes, and I just said to myself that like today now is the day where it just gets done and this song gets finished, and then I can show my family. I can't remember if I released it to like the public, as it were, but like I made copies for my brother and my sister, and I'll stick it on the end of this, like, and if anybody wants to listen to it, they can. Bearing in mind this was recorded in my bedroom with like a USB mic, not even a USB mic actually, it was a battery, so you had to stick like AA batteries in the microphone, and then it ran a 3.5mm jack into an audio interface, like, so it was proper ghetto, and obviously I didn't know how to master anything, so the mastering and stuff I did with that song was literally just like adjusting audio levels and lacing it. But it's going to be there for you to listen to, and that it was one, like, at that time it was one of the proudest things I'd ever done for myself, because I was writing all these crap songs about killing people and like being a gangster and being harder than I actually was, and this was the first song that I had completed that was just real, and it was blood, sweat, and tears, and God knows how many pages I wasted with just getting so wet that I'd been crying on them. And that song, like, as much as I listen back to it now and I think I could probably write a better one now, it's one of those things that I'm just proud of, and I will be proud of until the day I die. So along that, like, kind of making a songs because of a loss type of thing, I got a project in the works now called Decade, which is 10 years since I completed my last song, which was her. And so the project I'm working on now, I didn't want to use old songs, but I want to kind of throw back to that. So there's a couple of lyrics in there that throw back to that song, and that'll be released for free at some point, either at the end of this year or just at the beginning of next year. But in that time as well, I've from episode 1, from the first podcast, you heard me talk about when I was having like seriously dark thoughts about just ending my life. And when I went down to the I'll call it the summer house, when I went down to the kind of the summer house at the bottom of my my mother's garden, I had a phone call from my uncle. He'd seen on my Facebook page that I wasn't quite right, and I was maybe crying out for help a little bit. So he phoned me, and like, I don't know, he even had my number. We never talked to each other. We literally never spoke to each other. He was one of those guys that was just like, we'd meet at the family gatherings, the 70th birthdays, the 50th birthdays, and I'd sit down and I'd have a good crack with him. And he was a great guy. He's really funny, like in one of those like dweeby ways. He was so funny in like just like saying those one line punchline kind of jokes, and they were crap, but you laugh because of the way he delivered it. He was great. Like, so that was my relationship with him. I just saw him as like the funny uncle who I see on birthdays. Do you know what I mean? I didn't see him as the person that would like probably end up being like the person that actually did save my life. So we did. So I was down there and he phoned me. So like when I'm doing Decade now, I felt like I needed to do a little nod to him. So the first track on Decade is a monologue. So it's an a cappella. It's it was just something that I was driving home one night, and like, because he died this year really suddenly. And I don't know, I was up, there was a couple of nights where I just lost sleep, and I like Eve would catch me crying in the middle of the night and stuff, because I never spoke, like after that day, I never spoke to him about what he did. I don't know if he realized what he did with that phone call, because I was at my wrist with a knife, and for some reason I decided to answer the phone. I know what the reason is. It's because I didn't want to fucking die. But I was going to do it, without a doubt. I was going to do it, and I just answered the phone, and he just had a chat and saved my life. Like, genuinely saved my life. So when he died, I hadn't spoken to him about it, and shit. And when when my dad told me that he had died, I instantly thought, fuck, I never thanked him. And hold on. It's alright, I'm good. So I had to do something. I felt like I didn't say thank you to him when he was alive, so I felt I had to kind of commemorate in some way. Whoa. Fuck. I didn't think this was going to happen. Right. So I had to commemorate him, and I didn't want to do, I'd already done a song for my gran, so I didn't want to just do the same thing again, because it would have been a lot of the same words. It would have been like, fuck, I'm sorry you're gone, you know. So I was driving home from work, and I'd had like 3 nights where I was like, fucking hell, I can't sleep because I just keep on fucking crying. So I just started, I put a beat on, and I just started freestyling, and I would just freestyle the same line until it made sense, and then I would keep on going. And then by the time I got home, so it was like 40 minutes, by the time I got home, I'd written this kind of poemy a cappella type thing, and I was like, I'm gonna record this. I don't give a fuck, because I had the idea that I was gonna do Decade anyway. So I was like, right, I might as well just put this down. I've got a mic. I might as well just chuck it down and just see whether I like it or not. And and it was like, and even in doing that a cappella, I left it in because it was the pure emotion of it all. That like I kind of broke up halfway through. I had a sore throat anyway because I was ill, which made it sound worse. But like it just had to be that raw kind of hit. Like, do you know what I mean? So that's the opening track for Decade, and then there's a couple of other songs. I played that, obviously, that comedy song, but like I think that's going to be the only funny song on the album, because I just want, like, again, like as I was trying to do here before I just fucking lost it, is I wanted to go in chronological order. So like just after my gran died, not long after me and Kaz split up, and I wanted to do a song about that, about like how confused I was when it all happened, because it happened so strangely and quickly and amicably, and then I wanted to do it, like, obviously the Love the Dick song is about like kind of like, even though it's 10 years later, I've still got that weird sense of humor where, like, do you know what I mean, like where I find so much laughter in talking about having a massive penis, you know. So there's a couple of other songs, like there's one going to be about like my battle with the depression over the summer. There's kind of one where I look back at where I was when I was rapping back then and what I was rapping about, and then how now I've kind of got like the adult head on my shoulders, and now I just want to like spit bars, like, do you know what I mean? Like I love doing it, and the challenge of writing, and challenge, like, as much as Blame the Dick is like the comedic song that it is, the flow in there is probably one of the best I've ever had. It's a really good flow, like, for me. So I just wanted to I want to make a product that I'm happy with. Do you know what I mean? Like, I keep on getting the urge to write songs, and I never end up doing it. So like, I'm forcing myself to get this done either by the end of the year or early next year. It'll still be called Decade, but I think so. I'm just going to release that. I don't know whether to put it on the Big Fat Chat SoundCloud or whatever. But yeah, it's like, I'm gonna release that, and there's a couple of other songs, like yeah. So you can just wait for that if you're interested. If you're not interested, then that's fine. You can just listen to me talk and fucking cry on my podcast. But the acapella is called Uncle Roger, and yeah, I completed it literally in one drive home. I tweaked it when I got home, because I couldn't write the notes down, so I was just freestyling. I just start the beat again and go again and go again and go again. And what I did is I just filmed myself. I just set my camera to record. I played the beat, and then I just dropped the verses as I was thinking of them, and as I was thinking of the emotions and blah blah blah. And from that video, then when I got home, I would write it down on a pen and paper, and then I would tweak it. So yeah, I mean, this acapella is less than a minute long. I think it might be a minute and a half, but it's definitely less than a full song. But there is more pain in that 2 minutes, more regret in that 2 minutes than I've probably had in my whole life. You know, like, we all go through like emotional pain, but what happened was he fell ill so quickly, and nobody kind of, it literally, I think it was 2 weeks, but from being diagnosed to being dead was 2 weeks. And I said to my dad, I was just like, Dad, can I come with you next time you go see Roger, because I want to speak to him, and I want to talk to him. Because again, I hadn't spoken to anybody about this. I'm a really introvert person. It's weirdly because I lay myself so bare on these podcasts, but you never hear me talking about this stuff in real life. Like, I never, like, I've got one friend, I think, who I've spilt my guts to, and when I fell ill last year, she was the first person who knew. But apart from that, there isn't many people who I feel like I can be like that. I can be that kind of what's the word? Kind of, I don't want to say weak, like maybe vulnerable then. there's not many people who I can be vulnerable in front of in real life, and it's so weird that I just did that now, to strangers essentially. But yeah, I think the thing that hit me with Uncle Roger the most was the fact that I just kind of, it's because I didn't get to speak to him, and it was like one of my major character flaws is I just couldn't approach him and just say like, look, thanks, because like, you know, I didn't know Eve at that point, so I've met the person who I'm hopefully going to be with for the rest of my life, and I've got my son who is just an amazing human being, like, and that just wouldn't have existed, you know. So it's a tough one for me. And then obviously his wife, who is my auntie, my dad's sister, she didn't know any of this. And then one day I just wrote, so when I found out he had died, I wrote like a long Facebook status that, again, just kind of just put it all out there. And then my cousin messaged me, and he was just like, fuck, Dan, that was, you know, like, nobody knew. And I was like, yeah, no, I know nobody knew. There was a reason for it, like, you know. So that song is, it's not even a song. It's kind of, it's a speech. It's a message to him to say sorry that I didn't say thank you, and like, he saved my life, and I didn't have the power to save his, and the regret that I felt with all of that. So yeah, that was a toughie. But on to less depressing things maybe now, because I don't think I can sit on that for any more longer. I don't think I can sit on that for much longer, because I'll just be sat here weeping to myself. So when I'm talking about Mumford & Sons, there's a song on the second album, called The Ghosts That We Knew, right? And that song, as grim as the title is, it reminds me of a really, really happy time in my life, and it's when me and Eve started meeting each other for the first time. I was in the height of my Mumford & Sons fandom at this point, and what happened was, like, I was still living with Kaz, but we were separated, and Kaz must have been in work or something. So Eve came over my house, which in hindsight probably I shouldn't have done, but Eve came over my house, and I just, because Mumford & Sons were playing Live Lounge, and I was just like, I'm so excited for this. Can you just come over? We'll go and do something later, but I need to watch this. Like, you know what I mean? And then that was the first time I'd kind of introduced my two loves, you know. Like, I started a really fancy Eve, and I loved Mumford & Sons. So like, it was the first time they met, you know. So that song, The Ghosts That We Knew, it just reminds me of Eve. So anytime it comes on, like, I just get this feeling of, it takes me back to the times where we didn't have the stress of living together, or the stress of you know, having to pay bills and both working, and that feeling of never seeing each other, and obviously the stress of having a kid, it doesn't help either, and it takes me back to before all that, like, and that doesn't take away from the feelings that I have for her now. They're just different feelings. They're more matured feelings, and they're more adult feelings, you know. So when I met her, I think I was 23. 23? Yeah, I was 23-ish. And it was just like that childish kind of love again, you know, that like texting each other every night type of love, and the you know, and it was that song that was playing when I told her that I loved her, because basically I'm not going to go too into this one, because it isn't just my life, it's Eve and a couple of other people, but my parents, her parents and I, like, we didn't get on. We like that's just the thing. Like, it's not that we didn't get on. We just didn't. We never spoke to each other for the first 3-ish years of our relationship, because of stories that they had heard about me. And when she told me that she couldn't meet me again, she couldn't keep on meeting me, because her parents had found out about that she was still meeting me, and she was just like, I can't do this anymore. I was sat down Llanelli Beach, weirdly, because I was going to text her, and I was bored, so I was just out in my car. And I texted her, and she said, I can't do this anymore because my parents have found out about us, blah, 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 blah. And it was that song, it was Mumford & Sons, The Ghosts, that we knew that was playing when I told her, but, like, no, this can't happen because I love you, like. And so anytime I hear that song now, like, I cry for some reason. Like, I think everybody's just finding out that I'm a dweeb today, but I'm quite an emotional bloke, like. But that song in particular, for some reason, if I'm sat in a car on my own, like, if I can listen to it around people, it's fine. And then I just think of the memories. And not so much the memories, actually, the feelings that are kind of, that go in tune with it. But with regards to the feelings that song brings up, it takes me back to a place that was just much more simple, you know? Even though we were having all the shit with our parents, the other stuff, the other bits of life were just phenomenal, like. And yeah, I mean, like, that song, like, it's weird. Like, I wanted this whole episode to just, like, fully contrast what music can do. And weirdly, as this has kind of developed, it's more of a contrast than I ever thought it would be. Like, there's 3 songs, and 3 memories that could make me cry, but for very, very different reasons. Just in, like, what I've just been discovering. What I was gonna do today is I was gonna write down the lists of songs that I wanted to cover. I've skipped over almost all of them because I didn't end up writing them. But what I did, as soon as my script, we'll call it my script. So, like, I scripted as much as I could of this episode in the time that I had. Which was basically up to Garth Brooks, and everything after that was kind of more freestyle stuff. But what I've done is I've just got, like, it's really weird. Like, I'm quite happy. I'm quite happy with how this has gone, considering it was a solo one, and I only had a small idea of what I wanted to do. But what I've done is I have discovered this contrast in which, like, I was just kind of discovering it as you were, and I actually really enjoyed that. And this isn't scripted right now, and none of these ideas were scripted. But I'm so happy that, like, I've managed to kind of discover these things. Like, obviously I knew if I look back at my song that I made for my gran, I was always going to think, yeah, no, obviously I'm partial to this, you know, because it brings back memories. But, like, the deeper I was going, the more I was actually the more I actually remembered about the time of doing it, because it was writing that song was a coping mechanism, 100%. And I don't think I realized the impact of that until just now when I was talking about it freestyle, you know. And then obviously the stuff about my Uncle Roger, it pains me to this day, and it's going to pain me till the day I die, that I didn't get to just share a moment where he could understand the impact that he had on someone else's life. And it was a massive impact, because I wouldn't have a life if it wasn't for him. I'm 99.9% sure. So, like, I think the dedication to him is quite nice on Decade, which you can hear at the end of the year probably. And then obviously the nice stuff, you know, the Meet and Eve stuff, and, like, me and Eve fight like fuck, but I love that girl with all my heart, and you know, I do want to spend the rest of my life with her. For some reason, you know, there's something there, and she gave me the best thing that a person could hope for, and that's, like, just a legitimately amazing son. So this went a totally different way than I thought it would. But I'm kind of happy with how it turned out. This is my second solo venture into podcasting, and I'm really thankful that if people are still here, that you came along on the journey with me of discovery. I didn't cover half the songs that I wanted to in this, but I feel like I concentrated on the important ones. So thanks, guys. I think I'm gonna be happy for the rest of the day, and I'm glad. And I like, you guys give me feedback. Please just give me feedback on kind of the more the more personal ones, the more real ones, the more human kind of podcasts that could come if you guys want to listen to them. Sorry, I just hit the thing. And I didn't swear as much. So I'm progressing as a podcaster. So like seriously, like actually this time, like I say thank you every single time, but genuinely thank you for, if you're still here, thank you for investing the time and giving up some of your day to just listen to me waffle for a little bit. So thanks very much, guys. Please, if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button and share us out. Like, you know, we can grow together now. Fuck's sake. Sorry. Like, we can grow together now as a community. And like I said, I will always remember the people that were here at the beginning. So thanks very much for your time, guys. Actually, thank you very much for your time today. Because this was not what the plan was for this podcast. But I'm happy I've done it. So thanks very much for your time. We'll catch you next time on the Big Fat Chat. And yeah, see you next time. Much love.
Rest in peace, Rosalie Phillips. Stolen from me in 2006. Thursday, 31st of August, 11:50. I sense something's wrong and I can't sleep. It's pitch black so I can't see. A car pulls up outside, then I hear keys. It's mom and dad, they back from seeing Gran. I hear a whisper, just go and tell Dan. I sink straight into my pillow, hard and face down. I turn around, I see it painted on his face now. My Gran is heaven bound. Was it peaceful? He nodded, then he turned around and left the room without making any other sound. And now I'm sitting all alone in this dark room, waiting for some daylight to shine through. Waiting for a voice to say it ain't true. Waiting for my Gran to walk in and say she had me fooled, but she didn't. It was true. And now I'm shaking at the thought because I lost you. I was so close to giving up, but I won't stop. My tears have dried up, no I won't drop. You just made me stronger. You just made me stronger. I was so close to giving up, but I won't stop. My tears have dried up, no I won't drop. You just made me stronger. You just made me stronger. It was a tearless week, it hadn't hit me until I walked through a door before the cemetery. My knees weak and I couldn't breathe. It was like a whole week of grief had just exploded in me. It was hard cause my brother had to hold me up. I could see that he was stronger than me because I folded up. My dad's face didn't budge, his arms rolled up. My mom was clutching my sister and she told us that it would be okay, she's not in pain now. It would all be fine, I'm feeling drained now. I couldn't laugh or smile, but I felt better now. Could see the end of her troubles as I said goodbye. I believe she's watching me through my whole life. I'm still young, she can guide me through the tough times. I just wish she'd have met my love just for one time, cause she'd have seen what made me smile after hurting mine. I was so close to giving up, but I won't stop. My tears have dried up, no I won't drop. You just made me stronger. You just made me stronger. I was so close to giving up, but I won't stop. My tears have dried up, no I won't drop. You just made me stronger. You just made me stronger. I say my tears are dry, but that's a lie. Even saying this now, there's still a tear in my eye. I'll make a joke just to help me cope. A couple beers with my brother and we start to choke. We sit and reminisce about the times that she went through shit and came out the other side and felt better for it. And now 2 years on from saying rest in peace, I can't live without saying how much she meant to me. She gave me love, I did the same. I'm proud to share the Phillips name with such a kind-hearted woman who never heard a damn thing. And now the world's a crappy place without her in, and I'm feeling like I can't wait to see her again. So please take a moment to say rest in peace to the woman who I lost, who made me find my feet, who made the man that I am, the fearless man as I stand, paying homage to the legend who was there when I began. I was so close to giving up, but I won't stop. My tears dried up, no I won't drop. You just made me stronger. You just made me stronger. I was so close to giving up, but I won't stop. My tears have dried up, no I won't drop. You just made me stronger. You just made me stronger. And as the final petal falls from the rose, I'm so cold. A final tear falls onto a gravestone. but I'm strong now. Yeah, I'm strong now.